What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast. I am back and I am out of town for work. So, this is a bit of a different setup here. I tried to make it a little interesting. Got the flag going on, a little bit of home coming with me. Um, had to give something interesting to look at in the background because, man, sitting in a stupid hotel room is, it's not very interesting. So, but I got my whole setup, and of course, I had to get the podcast going. So I wanted to make sure that I got the episode out this week. Doing a little recap, little preview. Got some news to talk about. So yeah, my week's been pretty crazy. Just being out of town, away from home, and you know, um, wanting to make sure that I got all my stuff going, and wanting to make sure that I'm able to do this. So yeah, but it's been a busy week. I'm pretty tired already. I'm glad it's Thursday. Been doing a lot all week and just ready to get back home. But for now, I'm here with you guys. Gonna have some fun, just talking some fights. There's a lot of stuff that went down last weekend. Biggest of all was, of course, Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul. And, that was pretty hyped up, and it was a really great fight. At least I thought so. I didn't think I was gonna get to watch it live, but I did watch it live. I wound up buying it and checking it out, so it's pretty good. We're gonna go over that a little bit here. Um, what else is going on? Not a whole lot. I mean, this weekend, it's you know, it's a little bit of a slow weekend, I guess. We have a UFC fight this weekend, but it's not the best card. It's not the deepest card. Almost anybody I've heard talk about it is talking about how, you know, the main event is not, like normal main event. So, it is women fighting, and that's not the reason why. It's just not a huge fight, not a big hyped fight. It's getting towards the end of the year here, so you know, usually fights get built up a little more to be real big during this time, but for some reason, I don't know. I guess maybe they ran out of big fights to put on. So we're gonna get going on and through all that and stuff as well. Hopefully everyone else's week's going pretty well. I'm just ready to get the hell out of here and get back home. I miss my regular setup. I'm gonna be out of town back and forth for probably the next few weeks, so it's gonna be here and there. You might see this setup again here in a couple weeks because it's just been real busy and you know, I do what I gotta do. Gotta go out of town, you know, and make that money, I guess. But yeah, enough of that. Let's see what else is going on. Not a whole lot as far as fight talk goes. You know, the biggest thing was the Jake Paul and Anderson Silva thing. Everyone's been talking about that this week. I'm not going to be much different because there is a lot to talk about when it comes to that fight. Uh, it was way better than I thought it was going to be. And, you know, what are you going to do? There's all this talk about conspiracies of fight fixing. There's a lot of talk about, you know, Anderson not being the best opponent, blah, blah, blah. Oh, how is Jake Paul, a 25-year-old, going to fight a 47-year-old and all this other shit? I've heard it everywhere. And no magics. I'm not just talking about you. Terrence from my other podcast, we had a little back and forth debate about that on the podcast this week. Uh, but everybody's been talking about that. So that's why, I was telling him I can understand his point of view in the whole thing because first of all, Jake Paul is not very liked by a lot of people just because of his stupid antics and the way he carries himself is not the best. He's gotten better. He's more business oriented now and he's more serious about the fight game and helping out fighters and taking his boxing career seriously. So, you know, I got to give the guy props because I was like not high at all whatsoever about even talking about his fights before. He's been fighting nothing but MMA fighters for the most part. He started by fighting other people that were not very well known or big, boxers. But I mean, he just started boxing like a few years ago. That's my biggest thing is he's done a lot in the few years, and yes, he has the clout and the name to go with him. And so that helps a lot when it comes to his reputation and his popularity, or even the hatred that people have for him. They'll go and watch these fights just to hopefully see him get knocked out. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them. Against Tyron Woodley, especially. I knew it wasn't gonna be great when he fought Ben Askren, but when he fought Tyron, I was like, man, Tyron Woodley has knocked some fools out like pretty badly, and he's been involved in some really great fights. So don't mind me, I have to listen up every now and again because I don't know what's going on outside this hotel room, and I just want to make sure I'm not going to get a bunch of background noise and craziness. I hear noises here and there. The window's right next to me too, so you never know what you're going to hear. People outside doing whatever. Uh, but anyway, um, yeah, I was hoping that Tyron Woodley would knock him out, and he didn't. Neither of the times. Instead, what I thought Tyron would do to Jake, Jake did to Tyron, which was knock him out face first, flat on the ground, out cold. And that's kind of what he did to Ben Askren too. Um, I didn't think he was gonna do that to Anderson, and I mean he didn't. But let's just say, I mean, the fight was way better than I thought it would be. That's the biggest takeaway from all of it. And I actually give Jake Paul some props. I don't think he's can be considered like a top fighter. I mean, he's still only like 6-0 now, I think, or something like that. So it's not like he's this highly ranked, highly, you know, just high up in the rank fighter that's going to be fighting for a belt soon. There's no way. He hasn't even fought any highly ranked actual boxers either. He's just fought, I would say, in the public eye, highly ranked MMA fighters. So that's a lot of the downfall that he has with his fight choices as of now. But he's still early in the game. He could walk away. I mean, I heard him talking about how Logan told him that, Logan is his brother. And Logan Paul told him, you could walk away from this right now, just after this Anderson Silva fight, and say, fuck it, I'm done. I did a lot. I did what everybody thought I couldn't do, and I beat Anderson Silva, who's a, you know, high, like the upper echelon of strikers from the UFC. Even though he's older, he still has what it takes to, get some good fights in and win some fights. He did it against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and that was a pretty big fight. So, um, yeah. But the thing is he's gonna keep boxing until he gets the recognition he's looking for, and he's out there trying to do good things for the fighting community in general, for fighters in general. I know he has this beef with Dana White, and that I don't think that's gonna end anytime soon unless they come to some kind of agreement. But he's he's out here trying to help fighters for the most part, from what I see. Even the undercards of his fights, he's helping out those fighters, you know, taking pay cuts here and there just to make sure that they're getting paid well and helping them out, promoting their fights and stuff like that. So you get the Jake Paul name behind you. And I mean, what else? Like, what else do you need from the guy? He's not, it's not like he's Mayweather. I've said this before. It's not like he's Mayweather who goes out there, doesn't give two shits about anybody else on the card, just wants to get his money, just wants to get his paycheck and get the hell out of there. So, I would say if you want to question fights more, question Mayweather's, because Mayweather's been fighting kind of circus freak fights lately, and it's kind of weird. At least Jake Paul started that way, and now is turning to fighting somewhat legitimate fights. I would call Anderson Silva's a legitimate fight for sure. Even if you don't want to see all the rest of the fights that he had with everyone else, but it is what it is. Everyone's gonna talk shit. Everyone's gonna be, you know, everyone's gonna have their opinion, and I get it. Like I can see the argument for both sides. So yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, what else can I say? But I can say a lot more, and I'm kind of going to, because I am going to just recap this fight right now because it was interesting, like I said, and it was a good fight. So I would say let's get to it. Look at that. There's no way I was gonna go without something happening. Even in my test, that happened, and I tried to get it out of there, and it stayed up there. I don't get it. Who cares? Anyway, Anderson Silva and Jake Paul. There's I keep moving my drink because I have limited space here. I don't have my regular desk, and everything's kind of cluttered. It's annoying. So if you see my glass moving back, at least I still have a drink. I had to make sure I had a drink so I can get through this and, you know, do my little ritual. It's not an old fashioned, just a Jack and Coke, but it is what it is. That's was my drink before old fashions anyway. So, yeah. So, you know, this is them after the fight. If you're watching this, you see the picture, and you know, neither one of them looked real jacked up, but you know, in the press conference, you can see how banged up Jake Paul is. He was there with ice packs on his face, on his hands, more his face, you know, and he did look pretty jacked up. Anderson's eye was messed up, and he had some swelling. It was a good back and forth fight. They both did their thing, and I was actually really surprised. You know, Jake Paul's talking about how, you know, Anderson kind of fought dirty. I just don't know that Jake has really been in there with somebody like Anderson Silva, and Silva has some tendencies that more are on the side of other martial arts. You know, he's done a lot of kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA in general. So, you know, and I'm sure he's learned some things. You know, he was supposed to fight Roy Jones Jr. back in the day. So I'm sure he's learned some tricks throughout his training for boxing. But he just, Jake Paul just said that Silva kept holding his head down. He says that's why Silva was landing all those uppercuts and that they were landing flush. I'm just saying, charge it to the game, bro. That's what it's about. You know, if it wasn't caught by the ref and he wasn't penalized for it, you're going to have to deal with it. And that's part of the game. And you're going to run into fighters like that. Whether it's fair or not, I don't know. It's just like football. In football, during, you know, when there's a fumble, people are bending fingers backwards, poking people in the eye, you know, possibly checking some oil, if you know what I mean. Maybe bending some legs a certain way. I don't know. There's some dirty shit that happens in the bottom of a dog pile going for a fumble in football. So I've been told. So I've seen. So, you know, that's just the kind of shit that happens. And if you're not eye poking in MMA or kicking somebody in the balls repeatedly, or in boxing, if you're not, you know, putting someone in a headlock or kicking them, you're gonna just have to deal with that kind of shit. I'm sure it happens to the best of them. But you know, that's Jake Paul, and he didn't say it in a massively disparaging way against Silva. You know, he said Silva is a fucking legend. That, you know, he was more hyped, and he said he was so hyped about winning that fight because basically he just, I don't know that he thought he could actually get through that and beat him the way that he did. Now, it was a decision, but you know, it was a good back and forth. And you know, Jake Paul obviously won more of the rounds. I think Silva was being a little gun shy for the most part. I feel like if he would have been more active and he would have thrown a lot more of the combinations that he's known for throwing, instead of kind of being that counter striker, that I think he would have had. I think he would have had more luck in getting that decision, or maybe even getting a knockout when he was landing in his combinations and those uppercuts in the, you know, kind of in the clinch. That's what was working for him, and I think he should have kept that going. You know, he landed some really good punches on Jake Paul, and you know, Jake always fired back with something, and I think that's kind of why he got that decision. if Anderson would have stayed loose like he did in the second round, when he came into the second round, he looked real loose, and he looked like he was ready to go. Like he finally settled in, knew what Paul was about, and he was going to get going. But I don't know, he just didn't step on the gas. It's like he stepped on it halfway and held it there and then let off. Till the very end. The very end, it looked like he was ready to hit that gas again. But, you know, I don't know, man. I just wish that he would have kept up with a lot of the things that were working. And he didn't. Every time he had the opportunity to, though, he did land those uppercuts when they were in close, and he did get some good punches off. And I think Jake Paul got hit a lot more in this fight than he has in any other fight. And to his credit, he took it pretty well. But fuck, man, he still hasn't been. He still hasn't been fully rocked the way that he's rocked people. You know, the way that he has hit people, and that's a testament to his power, but not to his experience, really. I just think that he's getting better at landing combinations, and he's getting better at seeing his target and following through with hitting that target. And I think it's just the come up of boxing, and it's part of what needs to happen. And he's just getting a full grasp on that. I mean, the guy, he's not doing this for the money. You know what I mean? So he's got the money. He's had the money. So he's got the best trainers. I listened to one of his trainers on another podcast, and he was talking about how dedicated Jake is. And, you know, a lot of trainers will say that kind of thing, but, you know, who's going to put their reputation on the line and say that somebody is doing something that they're really not doing, that they're not as dedicated and they're not as determined to do well in a sport that, you know, he's new to, basically. He's only been, 2.5, 3 years, I believe, is the amount of time that he's been actually training in boxing. So I guess, like I said, I have to give him credit no matter what, no matter whether I like it or not, because I'm here being real about it. And, you know, it was a good fight, and I'm going to keep saying that. So, you know, I think Jake Paul's biggest thing that he did well was landing those body shots. He did work Silva's body a lot. Being that Silva is 47 years old, you know, the body doesn't hold up as well as it does. Believe me, I know. I'm 41 and I'm like, damn, I can't do the shit I used to do. But you know, when it comes to work especially, man, I get tired quicker, that's for sure. But it is what it is. It's age, you know. But these guys train their bodies to do this and hold up and withstand all of, you know, all of the punishment. But no matter what, you're gonna get old. It doesn't matter who you are or how good you are or how athletic you are. You're gonna get old, and you're gonna start, you know, things are gonna take a toll. And Jake Paul had the right state of mind, you know, giving Anderson those body shots, not just headhunting. Because when you just headhunt against somebody like Anderson Silva, who's a counter striker, and he has really good head movement and really good footwork. So, you know, if you know Silva, you've seen him do some crazy shit. Always talking, you know, we always talk about the Matrix. You know, it's like he's in the Matrix, flipping punches left and right, you know, last second, barely grazing or not hitting him at all. So that's what he's good at. Jake Paul just was landing those punches though, man, and he did knock him down. I don't believe this was the actual knockdown blow, but this was one of the better pictures of a clean shot. And for those of you out there talking, like, who's gonna let them hit him like this? And who's gonna just say, okay, I'm getting paid this amount of money, let me go ahead and take this punishment? You know what I mean? Do you want to get hit in the head like that? I mean, if so, cool. But that's not something a professional fighter is gonna do. And I just think everybody that's talking about that kind of stuff is full of shit. I'm just sick and tired of hearing about it, to be honest with you. But, you know, and I know that I understand why people do that and get there. But the fucking videos that they're showing is proof that, you know, it was rigged, and that Silva, you know, faked it and everything. Like, come on, man. The fucking angle of the camera is why. If you look at every single other angle of that punch, you see it land flush. Like, how much more do you need to see? Just fucking people. I don't get it. They do this with UFC fights, they do this with boxing fight, and I get it. There's been corruption, there's been fucking fight fixing, even in the UFC. I believe in the past there's been fight fixing. It's been very, very little though. I think it's only been one instance, and that guy got caught. And come on, man, like, some fucking dumb shit. I get it, Jake Paul's kind of a douche. I get it. Jake Paul's kind of a fuckboy. I get it. Everyone's sick and tired of hearing about him. But the truth of the matter is that he's out here proving something. And even to his biggest haters, even to somebody who doubts him like me, I never thought I'd see him fight Anderson Silva. Even, you know, Dana White said it, but I think that kind of fueled Jake Paul's fire. You know, everybody's saying he can't do it, so he's going to go out there and try to get it done. That's kind of what you got to do. And, you know, when he's serious about it, he's training hard, and he's taking these fights seriously and not just being a jackass wanting to get fucking YouTube viewers or whatever, you know, then I say good, go for it. You know, I hate a lot more people a lot more than I hate him. And he, you know, just saying as far as like being a hater in general. But I just think, I don't know, I just think that people are taking this shit way too, just blowing it way out of proportion. Just watch what happens. I mean, come on. It's Anderson Silva. Yes, he's a fucking legend. Yes, he lost. Yes, he said it himself. He fucking lost. He said Jake was better than me. I think Anderson got tired. They both got tired at the end. The problem is though, I think Anderson just let his guard down. I think he was a little more tired than he realized. And I think that when he decided he wanted to let go, it was at the wrong moment. He took, you know, he said too that he was off balance and that Jake took advantage. But that's what a good fighter does. He sees an opportunity and he goes after it. And that's what happened. You know, Jake Paul himself said the knockdown wasn't the hardest punch of the fight. It was more about timing and Silva kind of putting his chin out there, probably due to how tired he was, because he wasn't doing the normal stuff that he's done in the past, where he, you know, is putting his chin out there, just kind of like, hey, go ahead, hit me, with his hands down. He wasn't doing that. He did it a little bit in the beginning of the fight, but he didn't do it at the end. I think it was more about being tired. So, and you know, like I said, even Jake Paul said he was a little off balance, and he thinks that's why he got that knockdown. Either way, it was a clean knockdown. It was a clean hit. Stop fucking saying it wasn't. Stop saying that he missed him and that it was millimeters away from his face, that there's no way they couldn't. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Go find something else. Just go find something else. This is so stupid. Like, after this week, nobody's going to talk about it anymore. Maybe few and far between, including me. But for now, it's the talk. It's what it is. And it was a big fight, and it was entertaining, and it came through for all the hype. Maybe there wasn't a huge knockout. Maybe the person you wanted didn't win, but it was a great fight if you're a fight fan to watch. 8 rounds, kind of perfect for boxing. I think the longer, like the 12-round fights and stuff, it's like 4 rounds of feeling each other out any damn way, unless somebody's really coming out there to win that fight early. Like, most of the time, the first 4 rounds are feeling each other out. It's fucking annoying. Like, it's annoying. So, you know, this 8-round fight was cool. It came through with all the hype, and, you know, there was a lot of shit going down in the background. You know, Nate Diaz and his team were there because Chris Avila was fighting on this card, and there was a whole lot of drama in the back. Of course, because Nate is waiting to be completely done with his UFC contract, so he has to wait it out. And, you know, Jake Paul's already talking about fighting him. So, yeah, there's all that going on. Scuffles in the back. That's what I was looking for. I was about to say scrambles. There's scuffles in the back. All kinds of videos out about that. Kind of funny. You know, it is what it is. But Paul says that the crowd was against him too. There's a lot of booing for him. There's a lot of people rooting for Anderson. Again, that's part of his persona, though. He's used to that. He said he noticed it a lot this time, but that's because Anderson's so well loved. Even with the, PED, like testing positive for PEDs back in the day in the UFC and stuff, everyone still knows that Silva's a legend and everyone loves him. So, the other things about this fight, there's Jake was talking about how the pre-buys were kind of tanked because I guess they were trending up pretty hard, and then they just tanked out of the blue because of Anderson talking about getting knocked out twice in sparring. His coach said, or his coach or his manager said that was just him misspeaking, not speaking English correctly, blah blah blah. Either which way, I guess it affected the pre-buys, and a lot of people didn't buy the fight ahead of time as it was trending to be really, really big for numbers in pre-buys. But I guess that kind of tanked it. You take it for what it is. It is Jake Paul and his own promotion and his own numbers. Maybe it's an excuse. I don't know. But that's just what he was saying. He just thinks that Silva's saying that and all the hype around that. And all of the fights beforehand that got canceled. Tommy Fury twice. Hasim Rahman. I think people didn't want to buy the fight and be disappointed because it got, canceled. Because maybe the commission wouldn't let Anderson fight if him getting knocked out, in sparring was true. All that stuff. They had an emergency meeting for the commission to make sure, and I'm sure they had everybody in there trying to make sure that they weren't making a mistake by letting him fight, because he is older, and if he got knocked out twice in sparring leading up to this fight, that's a lot. So you're kind of putting somebody in danger. So that's why there was such a big deal around that. But anyway, it ended on a good note. They have a lot of respect for each other. I was worried about the fight sucking because Anderson has respect for people unless they disrespect him, but he usually is a very respectful guy. He's showing Jake a lot of respect. They were having fun in the lead up, with all the promotional stuff. And, Jake, being the douchebag everybody says he is, don't get me wrong, I felt the same way. But he had a lot of respect for Silva because he's liked Silva as a fighter since he was a kid. There was all the pictures going around of him and Logan taking a picture with Silva back in the day and all that stuff. But they showed a lot of respect for each other. As you can see in this picture, Silva, had some good words for Jake after the fight. Jake said that he told him, no one can say anything about you anymore. You're for real, you're legit, you're a champ. Coming from somebody like Silva, I mean, those are some strong words. So, everybody's saying that this wasn't legit. Everybody's saying that this was, rigged and blah blah blah. I don't know why somebody like Anderson Silva would put his name and his legacy on the line, to do something like rig a fight and to take a fall, to get knocked down, to get hit the way he got hit. I would be like, I'm too old for this shit. I can't be doing this. Not purposefully, like, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. I would just be like, I'd rather get my ass whooped for real and take the punishment from trying my best to win a fight than to take a fall. So shut the fuck up about it already. Like, I just stopped talking about how it's fake. I think Jake has now shown that he's fighting for real, and it can only get better, and let's hope that it does. Just so, or that it fizzles out real fast and he decides to stop. One or the other. This in-between shit of everybody saying it's a rigged fight is so stupid. And why would a big promotion like Showtime Boxing put their name on the line for something like this, and to be, put up for someone like Jake Paul? It's not even like a gigantic like title fight. This is just a big fight with big names because they're popular for other things in boxing. So why would they put their reputation on the line for a fixed fight? Like, come on, man. Fucking dumb. I'm so annoyed by all of it. Like, just keep continuing. Let's just talk about how good the fight was. The fucking fight was good. I mean, if you're not that into boxing, you might not have found that to be a great fight because you didn't see a huge fucking knockout or something like that happen. But you know, there was a knockdown, and it was by the person that I didn't think would get knocked down. So it was good exchanges all the way through the fight. It was entertaining, and I was glued to the TV watching it. So yeah, it was fun. It was worth it. I watched it. I bought it. I watched it, and I had a good time watching it. So yeah, fuck off with all the talk about it being fake, and let's see what happens next. I don't know that Nate. Listen, I love Nate Diaz. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. And he's a great boxer. Don't get me wrong. But his fight career in general has not been the greatest lately. And I hate saying that because, like I said, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. I love the dude. I love the way he carries himself. If you don't like him, I don't care. I know a lot of people don't. But he's a great boxer. But can it hold up to this? I want to say yes. I want to say that his style of boxing would be great against Jake Paul. But I don't know, man, because Nate Diaz. I almost said Nick Diaz. Nate Diaz does get hit a lot, and he's gotten hit a lot lately in his fights, in all of his fights. He's always getting hit. His face is getting beat up. And, you know, if he lets Jake hit him like that, like he knocked out Tyron Woodley, like he knocked out Ben Askren, if he and he knocked down Anderson Silva. If he lands flush, he's going to knock you down or knock you out. And I just don't want to see that happen to Diaz, man. I don't know that that's the right way to go right now. But, you know, Diaz has been talking about wanting to get into boxing for a long time. Maybe that is the way to go. And maybe he'll be the one to shut everyone up. That's what he did with Conor. He beat Conor when everybody was hyped on Conor. Conor this, Conor that. Conor's the best. Conor blah, 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 blah. Conor went downhill after he lost to Diaz. He may have came back and beat him, but that was kind of his downfall right there. And he showed he had quit in him. And, you know, Diaz put that shit on him, and I loved it. And what if he came out and did that to Jake Paul and stopped the hype train? You know, Jake's still gonna be able to get fights, and maybe he doesn't want to if Diaz puts it on him like good enough, and you know, knocks him down multiple times and really beats him up. He hasn't been as beat up as he got against Silva, so maybe that'll change his mind. I don't know, but that's something to think about. And you know, he's still chasing that Tommy Fury fight too, because I think he's got that vendetta against him and that beef with him. So, you know, I kind of want to see him get a fight against someone who's a known boxer with a good record, and you know, maybe not a big name like Canelo. He called out Canelo too. If he fought Canelo, he'd get his ass whooped so hard. I mean, unless he just landed a lucky punch, but I don't think Canelo's the way to go right now. You don't want to fight Canelo. You don't want to fight Triple G. You don't want to fight fucking Gervonta Davis. You don't want to fight the Charlo brothers. You don't want to fight, you know, come on. Those are fucking big names that are doing big things or have done and are just coming down off of that high road of, you know, big fights and title fights. You don't want to go against those guys. Not right now. So if he wants his career to keep going, he's got to find a lower level boxer, but that's legit, has a good record, and is a great boxer. He doesn't have to have the biggest name in boxing. He doesn't have to have the biggest name in MMA or combat sports in general. Just be a damn good boxer and get some fucking recognition for that. I mean, I already think he's got a little more recognition from the community in general for beating Silva the way he did and having it be legit. So, I don't know. We'll see where this Jake Paul journey takes us. And if it keeps going. I'm interested now. I wouldn't say I'm fully invested, but I've talked enough about it now, and doing this podcast now, these are the types of things I'm going to talk about. And and there is a lot of attention around it. So, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to keep talking about it until he's done with the whole thing. So, he gets knocked out or something like that, I'm definitely going to talk about it. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think he's doing the legit thing right now, and I like it. And the other thing is he bet Anderson that if he won, that Anderson would have to help him start the union for the fighters to get him better medical care, long-term medical care, and better pay for all of the fighters, especially in the UFC. And it sounds like he's going to go hard on trying to raise money so that he can make sure that people in the UFC know that there's a way out, to not be scared and join the union so that they can make a change in MMA in general, to make the sport better for the fighters when it comes to the pay and the healthcare and all that kind of good stuff. So we'll see where that goes. There's been many of people that have tried to do these fighter associations or unions or anything else like that, and it's all failed, and there was big names involved. So can they do it this time? Is Jake Paul going to be the one that gets it done? Who knows? All I'm saying is if he does, I'll give him all the credit in the world, because this is something that needs to happen, and it's been talked about for so long. And I think nowadays it's about that time for the fighters to get better treatment all around. So, and a lot of people think that they're just millionaires out there because you see Conor McGregor, and you see people like, Conor McGregor, basically, because he's the main one that you see out there in his Ferrari yacht or Lamborghini yacht, and driving around Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all the bling and everything else. And, not everybody gets that kind of pay. As a matter of fact, very, very few, very small percentages of fighters get that kind of pay. So I'll never stop talking about fighter pay either, because from everything I've heard, this is why somebody like Jake Paul is wanting to get the fighters paid better, because he knows how much of a unfair type of deal that they get. So I'm just rooting for it in general. I don't care who does it. It could be Tito Ortiz for all I care, because I don't like Tito. It could be Tito Ortiz, and I'll give him credit for it because it's something that needs to happen. So there you go. There's my rant on Paul versus Silva. I had a lot to say. And I'm here doing nothing. When I'm done with this, I'm gonna go back to watching a stupid movie or playing on my phone. I don't know. I get to leave tomorrow, so I'll probably be packing up all this shit. Now I have a bunch of stuff that I travel with to do this podcast, but I gotta make sure I put it out there and keep it out there. So yeah, let's move on to the UFC card this weekend. We've got Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Lemos, and this is the fight I was talking about earlier. It's a women fighting. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just that they're not very big names. There's possible title implications for this fight, but they're both involved in a lot of fights that wind up in a decision. Marina Rodriguez has he's fought a lot of big names, actually. Let's see, I have them written here. Let's see. Okay, so she's beat a lot of big names. She beat Michelle Waterson, Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Ribas, Tisha Torres. Those are a lot of big names. Waterson's been in number one contender and in multiple title fights. Mackenzie Dern's a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. Messing up my words again. Amanda Ribas she's a great fighter on a big tear. Tisha Torres, everyone knows her. She's been in title fights and everything too. So she's beat a lot of big names, and she came from Dana White's Contender Series. So, and that was a she made the girl quit without even doing. I mean, she elbowed her so hard that the girl just said, "Nope, I'm done," and put her hands up and walked away. So I mean, she hits hard, and she's a great striker. It's weird though. She's got 2 draws, and she's 16-1-2. He has 1 loss to Carla Esparza, who's the strawweight champ at the moment, like the current strawweight champ. So that's the only person she's lost to. She has 2 draws though, which is weird. Cynthia Calvillo and someone else. I don't remember who the other draw was against. It was another big name though. So she's fought a lot of big names, and yeah, as you can see in this picture, she hits hard. I've seen her drop multiple girls, and you know, it's weird because she just never finishes them though. That's the only thing. She's got a lot of decision wins, but she can definitely crack. So be looking out for that. Amanda Lemos though, she's 12-2. She also beat Michelle Watterson, and she also beat oh god, I just forgot her name. Angela Hill. That's who's in this picture. Now this front kick was like an Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort kind of front kick, except it didn't end in a KO. Angela Hill is pretty tough, and she could take a lot of punches, and she took that kick like a gangster. I was really surprised. It did wobble her a bit, but I mean, it doesn't look like it connected in this picture, but I grabbed this picture for a reason, because like that's a crazy angle. That's a badass picture, and this is actually after Angela Hill's face went back. That's why you see so much of Amanda's foot. Kind of a crazy one. If you get a chance, maybe go check that out. Just put in Amanda Lemos highlights and you'll see it, like first or second one. Yeah, it's pretty sick. It like I said, just like Anderson Silva did to like Lyoto Machida did to Randy Couture too. Just that quick front kick to the face, pretty nasty. So yeah, I was pretty high on that. I mean, I remember the actual fight, but I had to go back and watch because I'm like, is this the one? You know, you get all these names mixed up. So, she lost to she lost to Jessica Andrade, who is a former champ as well. So, you know, and she's got a draw on her record too. There's a lot of draws when it comes to the women. I don't understand. It's kind of weird. I don't think I ever noticed that until just recently. But anyway, she's got heavy hands. She's got really good strikes. And, you know, if she gets you to the ground, she's going to throw your ass into submission too. So, you know, she's a pretty well-rounded fighter, but Rodriguez is also that way. And I think that if this is a striking match, it could be really, really, really good. You know, even though I said it was like, may not be the best. It just isn't a headlining fight, I don't think. So that's my biggest problem with it, I guess you could say. Yeah, and you know, it's just another Las Vegas Apex fight, so that kind of sucks too, but it is what it is. Fights are the fights. This is one of those cards that like people are saying is not great, not very deep, but it could produce some really, really great fights. A lot of the fight of the year contenders for years and years in a row have come from fight cards like this. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. This should have been the headliner. It's Daniel Rodriguez versus Neil Magny. So if you remember a few episodes back, D-Rod was involved in the little switch up of the card when Khamzat Chimaev and Nate Diaz were supposed to fight. So D-Rod fought the Leech. That's who he wound up getting matched up with after, you know, everything went down. He did win that fight by decision, even though everybody said that it was a robbery for the Leech and it should have been his fight. That was probably one of the least exciting fights on that card, which kind of sucks because Daniel Rodriguez is a heavy hitter and, you know, he's usually involved in pretty pretty decent, exciting fights. He fought Mike Perry and beat him. He put hands on him too, man. This is like why I picked this picture, because it's a good picture. Plus, you see how crazy tatted up D-Rod is. That big 1986 on his chest is pretty sick. Never thought you would see like a year like that just tatted on somebody and think it was cool. I don't know, maybe it's just him. He makes it look cool. I thought it was pretty cool tat. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, he drops people and he comes at you hard. I don't know what happened when it came to the Leech last fight. Li Jingliang is a pretty tough opponent, so I guess maybe he was playing it safe a little. He also wasn't ready for that fight. That wasn't his initial matchup. So, he was who the hell was he supposed to fight? I don't even remember now. There's so many changes in that fight card. Oh well. Anyway, but he is 7-1 in the UFC, and he's on a 4-fight win streak. So, regardless of whether he won because of a robbery or not, who gives a shit? He's on a 4-fight win streak. And what's weird is, let's see, he was on a 6-fight, what? No, 4, 5. So he was on a 4-fight win streak before he lost as well. So he's kind of a streaky fighter, like in a good sense. So I don't know against Neil Magny though, because Neil Magny is a bad motherfucker, and he's always involved in big name fights, but doesn't ever seem to get to that belt, which is kind of weird. Kind of reminds me of Leon Edwards in that manner. He's coming off a loss to forgot the name. It's Shavkat. I forgot the last name. Oh wow. It's one of those names it's hard to pronounce any damn way, right? So anyway, he's coming off a loss, but he has beat a lot of big names like Robbie Lawler, Carlos Condit, Johnny Hendricks, Hector Lombard, Kelvin Gastelum. So we're talking ex-champs, ex-contenders. I mean, if you've been around for a while and know the fight game as far as UFC goes, Lawler, Condit, Hendricks, those are all big names. Lombard's a fucking animal. So Neil Magny's beat them all. So the problem is, though, he's inconsistent, or he goes on a streak and then he loses, and then it's like win one, lose one, and win one, lose one. So that's a lot of his problem, unfortunately. And it is what it is. That's kind of the thing when it comes to Neil Magny. He's one of those streaky fighters in a bad sense, though, because he'll go on a streak of win one, lose one a lot, and he just can't ever seem to get to that title. But I think that's going to be an exciting fight because Magny's a good striker, and so is D-Rod, and I think that they're both going to press forward, and we're gonna get a good fight out of this one. So even if the main event winds up being kind of a dud, I think this fight will play as the main event pretty much and make up for all of it, and at least you'll have seen one good fight. The rest of this card is kind of so-so, like I said before. There's a couple names on there down at the bottom and stuff, but nothing too crazy. But maybe that'll produce some really, really good fights. Regardless, I'm gonna watch it. I have some stuff going on this weekend, like usual. I don't know what's been happening lately, but there's just been so much going on. I'm going to see a comedy show this weekend, so that'll be cool. Out of town again in another hotel, except that'll be better than this one. Anyway, I'll be watching these fights. They're going to be on ESPN+ as usual. And I believe normal time, prime time. Yeah. Nothing else really to talk about with this card. I'm just hoping it's going to be decent. And yeah. So besides that, I mean, there is some boxing going on this weekend, but there's also BKFC 32. Not a lot of big names on this card. I just threw it out there. I mean, it's Barnett versus Herrera. You can watch it on the app for $4.99. That's pretty much how they, put most of their fights out there. So I just put it up because it is a big BKFC fight. If you're into that, check it out. That's happening this Saturday as well. So yeah. Sit up for that. Couple other things going on. I wanted to let's see. We talked about Paul Silva. There was something else I wanted to touch on too. Man, now I'm lost. I can't remember, and it's not in my notes because I forgot to write it down. That's a damn shame. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to watch a comedy show this weekend. Tom Segura is going to be in Phoenix, and he's going to be recording his special actually at the Celebrity Theater. So that should be cool. I've never been to that theater. I heard it's cool. It's like a theater in the round type deal. But I'm excited to see Tom Segura. I haven't seen him live, but I listen to all of his podcasts all the time every week. Um, if you're looking for some kind of raunchy type, you know, real comedy driven podcast, definitely listen to Your Mom's House. That Tom Segura and his wife Christina Pazitsky, they do that podcast. It's hilarious, man. I every Wednesday it's on. Uh, I love it. It's just one of those things. It's so funny. They have like their own kind of lingo. If you gotta, you're missing out a bit if you just drop in on it, but you'll learn real quick like what the things are that they're talking about. There's just a lot of clips being played, a lot of cool guys, and there's just a lot of cool stuff. If you listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you've never heard of it or you're interested in something that's really really funny, you got to be willing to let the edgy stuff go though. They talk about things that people might get offended about, but it's all comedy and it's funny. um Give it a shot, you might like it. It's really funny actually. And then Tom Segura also does another podcast with Bert Kreischer called Two Bears One Cave. That's pretty funny too, because Bert Kreischer's crazy and he's so random. But those two together are hilarious, and that's a really good podcast too. That's every Monday. Yeah, every Monday. So yeah, they have a whole like network of podcasts pretty much. So if you're interested, check those out. Two Bears, One Cave, and Your Mom's House. And then oh yeah, Tom's wife, Christina P, also does another podcast called Where My Mom's At. And it's supposed to have been a podcast for like moms, like legit moms, not mommies, like your mom's house calls them. Um, you'll understand that reference if you listen. But yeah, it was supposed to be an actual mom podcast, but like everybody listens to it because it's just funny. She talks about a lot of cool topics, and just listening to her on her own is cool too. It's a different dynamic from her and Tom being together. They have their own thing, and it's cool and funny. But like listening to them individually as well is really cool, and that's what I think makes them such a good couple in comedy and in podcasting. Like that's why I think they're doing so well because each of them can hold their own with their own podcasts, which is really cool. Um, Shit, since we're getting into it, I mean, this is something that I like to talk about. Is just all the podcasts that I listen to. You know, there's like just networks of podcasts that happen now that people have their own networks or they have a lot of podcasts that they're involved with. Like I said, Tom is involved with those two. His wife is involved with another one. Bert has his own podcast too, called oh man, I forgot already. Bertcast. Yeah, how can I forget that? He has his own podcast as well. That one's pretty cool. He gets a lot of different kind of guests than you'd expect. But he does so many outside TV shows and stuff like that that he gets a lot of good guests on and people that you wouldn't expect to be on there. I can't believe some of the guests that some of these people get. I mean, I know that they're all involved in show business and Hollywood stuff, but damn, like Tom Segura's real into, racing cars like Formula One type stuff. He had a Formula One driver on. Um, they just get a lot. Anybody you hear them talking about, they can they've either had on before can probably get on their podcast. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of why listening to all these podcasts is why I wanted to get into it. I do listen to a lot of MMA podcasts, which brings me to another like network of podcasts that I listen to a lot. Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen do The Fighter and the Kid. Now they're both comedians, but Brendan is an ex UFC fighter. Uh, and I'd followed him like throughout his whole career because I actually first saw him on The Ultimate Fighter, and I didn't even know who he was. He played football and stuff, and then he got into MMA, and now he's a comedian. I guess he always wanted to be a comedian, but he made friends with Joe Rogan and Brian Callen and everybody in their group, and he does his own podcast, his own MMA podcast called The Shop Show. So he goes over and breaks down all the fights and stuff, kind of like this, but obviously he's better at it. He's got a whole lot. He's got a whole lot more to say, and he knows all of the fighters. He knows the game. He's been in the UFC. He fought there for a long time, and he knows all the background stuff. So, you know, but he also is a little outlandish. A lot of people don't like him. They kind of like Jake Paul. They think he's kind of a fuckboy, douchebag type dude. It is what it is. I like him. I think he's cool. He says some shit sometimes I don't agree with, but if I only listen to things I agree with, I wouldn't have much fun. So, you know, if people don't agree with me, it's cool. Keep watching. Maybe you'll find something you do agree with, or keep watching just to argue with me, even though I'm not talking directly with you. That's what I do that sometimes. I'll listen to stuff that I don't fully agree with. But that's what's cool about podcasts, You learn stuff, give it a shot, give it a chance. Maybe it'll change your mind. If you're open-minded and you're able to let other thoughts come in and not think that your way's the only way, then, you'll have a lot more fun. I bring new podcasts into my rotation all the time just to give them a shot. I'll listen to one or two, see what happens. If I'll stay subscribed to it for a while just to see what kind of guests they're getting, go back and forth to it. I listen most of my podcasts that I listen to. I don't watch a lot of them because I'm usually working or doing something else. So I listen to audio podcasts. That's why I wanted to make sure that my podcast was able to be uh listened to audio version only as well, and I wanted to make sure I did that right away. It did take me a little bit, but as soon as I got it going, that's why I always release it that way as well, because you can't just sit there in front of YouTube all day. You know what I mean? I've been talking for almost an hour. How many people are going to sit there for the entire hour and just watch? Most of the time you'll have it on your phone, listening, doing other things, or if you're like me, you have an earbud in all the time and you're listening while you're doing other stuff. So, if you're interested in listening only because you're too busy to sit down and watch it all, that's cool with me. Just do it. Just help me out still. Listen, give it a like wherever. Go to YouTube and still like my video, you know, and subscribe if you haven't, and all that good stuff just to because it'll still help me. So if you're listening now or watching now because you just happen to be here and we're able to, there's other ways too. You can listen audio only. I always try to describe what kind of pictures and visuals I put up there. So, the visuals are cool, and it's fun to be able to see them and watch my stupid expressions when I'm saying things, but and I try to make it interesting. Like I said, I'm always trying to make sure the background looks decent, my video looks good, and I try to make sure, like I changed it up a little bit this time and put myself in a window like I do with the guests, just to change it up. I don't have the cool background that I've had recently, that I've tried to set up nicely. So I figure, change it up a little bit. Um, I say it all the time. I'm gonna keep changing things up, uh, because I just like to make sure that I keep things fresh and you know keep it interesting. I want to keep this thing going. I like doing it, and I say it all the time. I always want to thank people that actually watch this. It's kind of crazy to me that I run into an old friend in Vegas when we were there for my birthday, and he tells me that he's trying to get his buddies to start listening because they all talk about MMA and fights and stuff. So he's and I appreciate that. So, Nick, if you're listening, I really do appreciate that. And you know, that's the kind of thing that'll help me out. You get me more viewers, get me more subscribers, just remind them to like my stuff and, you know, do all the usual things you do on YouTube. Or if you're listening only, you can still like it and whatever podcast app, subscribe there. Just listening to it helps, it just drives up the numbers, and it's cool for me, to be able to know that people are listening and that you're interested in what I'm doing. And I'll just keep trying to get better. I'll never stop saying that because I always want to make sure that I'm continuing to get better. I don't want to take steps backwards. Last week I had some slip ups and I felt like, I don't know, I had a bad week. I felt like I didn't do well. I wasn't happy with that show. And when I feel that way, I'm just like, it just makes me feel bad about things, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? But I quickly remember why, because I start podcasting with my other guys, and it reminds me how much I like doing this and how fun it is. And you know, when I have guests on here too, it makes it even more fun because I have somebody to talk to and run things by and bounce things off of, and maybe debate with or something like that. So yeah. And I try not to talk about nothing but podcasting when I'm like in my everyday life. But believe me, I want to. I would love to just talk about what can I do next and this and that. And, you know, if you talk to me ever, you'll hear me bring up at some point in time. But it's not like like I don't even like telling people that don't know that I do a podcast. But then I'm like, why not? That's just a potential another viewer, maybe. But I don't know. You know me. I'm just kind of I'm just not like that. I'm not I'm surprised I'm doing this because I don't usually throw myself out there like that. So, but here we are, episode 12. Not bad. Um it's fun and I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm talking about something I'm passionate about, which is fighting, so makes it even better. So, hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And if you are, please 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 hit that like button, subscribe, and also hit that notification bell, because that's how you know when I go live or a new video comes out. If you're not if you don't remember what day it is, it's always on Thursday. And I talked to one of my guys the other day, Magic's. We were talking about, you know, sometimes I don't like when I messed up last week and I didn't actually hit public for the live feed. Of course it wasn't up at 7. It was up when I was done because all I had to do was switch it to, public, and then everyone could see it. But it wasn't up when I started it, which was at 7. But the loose time that I usually want it to happen is 7 o'clock. It's always gonna be on Thursday unless otherwise, maybe I'll just put it out there on social media, which reminds me. Make sure I'm sure you've seen it the entire time in the bottom corner, but now I'm bringing it up a little bigger. There you go. Follow all my social media. I'm on. Oh, great. Now it's not going to work correctly. That's fantastic. There it goes. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I'm on TikTok. TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. Yeah, be that old guy, Eric. Good job. Um, I'm on TikTok. I don't like TikTok. Didn't like TikTok. I knew what would happen if I got on TikTok. I spent too much time on it, and I'm gonna get myself lost watching videos. And I'm like, I already do that enough on Instagram and everything else. But everyone kept telling me to do it for the podcast, so that's what it is. It's my podcast profile for TikTok, and I have one for everything else. Like I said, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok. So go follow me there. Like my stuff, please. If you're looking at it, hit that like button. It's not a big deal. I forget to do it all the time too, but guess what? If you do it for me, this is my podcast. I'm trying to grow it and it helps me out. So please do that if you can. And also, like I said before, if you like only listening, audio only version, you can go to all these platforms you see here: Stitcher, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, everywhere you get podcasts, you can get my podcast audio version only. So yeah, please, please, please do me the favor. Like, subscribe, and share my videos. Share everything and tell somebody about it. And yeah, just support me if you can, please. I'd appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody that already does. Thank you guys. Also, one more thing to go on about. Like I mentioned before, I do other podcasts. The final episode is where I got my start in podcasting. There's like 3 or 4 of us, depending on the day, but we usually do it on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Uh, I am now on another podcast called Enough to Be Dangerous. That is on Twitch at 7 p.m. on Tuesday nights. And then we have a mashup of the two podcasts, and it's called The Rumble. And we get a little crazy on there. We talk about some stuff that's maybe controversial. Maybe we argue with each other. But The Rumble is The Rumble, and that's why it's called The Rumble. And it's basically a mashup of Enough to Be Dangerous in the final episode. And we do that on Wednesdays. I think I said the final episode was Wednesday. It's actually Sunday at 7. The Rumble is Wednesdays at 7 p.m. The final episode and the Rumble are on YouTube. Can I get that out? Yeah, YouTube. Enough to Be Dangerous is on Twitch. All at 7 p.m. Final episode Sunday. Enough to Be Dangerous Tuesday. The Rumble on Wednesday. Thank you for listening to all that. I know it's a lot, but you know what? These guys have all helped me out, and I want to make sure that I am now on their podcast, so I want to, hype it up and get some more viewers. If you guys like listening to people just fuck around, talk about current events, talk about movies, TV shows, you know, have a little debate here and there, maybe have a little argument. We do all of that. So Twitch, when we're on Twitch for Enough to Be Dangerous, it's a little more mellow, but the other two can get crazy and a little loose and a little wild. So yeah. If you don't like it, just don't watch. But if you do, or if you want to just check out what we're doing, go check it out. Like and subscribe. Do all that good stuff. I'm going to shut up now. Those are my famous words because I always ramble too much. So I'm done. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you for watching. And yeah, next week, Patrick, if you're listening, I'm going to give you a call because I think you should be on next week's show with me because it's a big pay-per-view. And I think if I remember correctly, he was really looking forward to that one. So, possible returning guest next week. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all the good stuff. And we'll see you next time. Peace.